the attitudes that we need to sort of change, both from a humanistic point of view and from a social responsibility point of view, and actually in our own business interest. This is one of the areas I think we need to focus on. So we start with our total rewards philosophy. At Strong Conference in Las Vegas, you won't believe it, I spent 2 hours talking to participants about total rewards philosophy. 3 hours we are talking about total rewards philosophy. And that's because organizations are finding that they need to articulate what is your position on the minimum wage. You need to take a position on what is a living wage, what is a fair wage, what does that mean to you? So those are the 3 areas that we're looking at. And when we look at total rewards, we're talking about everything employees value in the employment relationship. So it's not just compensation, it's not just fixed salary, it's compensation, it's incentives, it's benefits, it's lifestyle, it's everything. So that's one of the areas that I think we should work on as we're thinking about employee welfare for people, blue-collar workers, people at the base of the pyramid. One of the big areas I think we need to really focus on is what we want to do in terms of a philosophy of addressing total rewards. The next thing, the low-hanging fruit there, is the end wage access, EWA. I wouldn't call it the full thing because I don't want people to get confused. It's not EWA, it's EWA, right? That's how we call it. Yeah, it's a low-hanging fruit. It's one of those things that everybody is talking about now. It's a big industry globally. People are looking at, people have already ended. Economists will call it income earned, not received. And there are many people that are working for a period of a whole month, and we're saying, can we give people access to part of the wages early, so that they can manage their finances better? Because one of the things we're seeing now is that all over the world, employees are turning to people they call loan sharks. People are going to give them interest rates, and they're going to give them ridiculous interest rates. You know, the normal interest rate in the US will, for instance, be maybe 6-7%. You go to a loan shark, people are going to be giving you interest rates of 100%. They're telling you, borrow $30, will give you, you'll repay $50, something like that, within a 1-month period. And so what is happening is that the people that are most vulnerable economically are having to borrow at the most expensive interest rate. And guess what? Whereas rich people can sometimes get away with not paying, they can declare bankruptcy on the company, but the poor people, there's going to be area boys and all sorts of people who have to pay that money if you have to pay that money if you owe them. So one of the things we have to look at is when people are working, should they have to resort to loan sharks? Why can't the organization find a way to make them have access to the payroll? So that's a low-hanging fruit. But one of the really, really important things, and Abby mentioned this in her presentation, was that we consider about long-term solutions. So low-hanging fruit is the end wage access, but really one of the things we have to be thinking about is, for the long term, what can we do for blue-collar employees? What can we do in terms of lifestyle? Is it unrealistic that somebody should, after working 30 years or 20 years in an organization, should say they are retiring to their village in Enugu and they can build a 3-bedroom or even a 2-bedroom house? It shouldn't be that people can't even dream of that. People don't have those dreams and expectations anymore because of the realities. So what we're thinking is that, what can we do to support workers in this category? And then the final thing, which is our final goal, is empowerment, wellness, and employee productivity. And thanks for mentioning earlier on the issue of efficiency when we're talking about time, because ultimately what we're doing this is a moral case for financial inclusion, but we also want people to realize that there's a very strong business case. So it's good for employers. This is data from the US, and you can see what is happening with end wage access, people providing income, part of the pay for people, and sometimes it could be up to 15%, it could be up to 25%, it could be up to 75% depending on the organization, and different people have different ways of doing it. People do it directly through their payroll, but many people are working with partners, tech companies that are providing the software. They already have access to all the data. They already know what employees are earning. And so what they can say is, wow, you're working hard. We've already earned 20,000 naira this month, of the first 2 weeks, we can give you access to that. So instead of going to borrow money at 22%, 25% or anything and get harassed, we're going to give you access to the money. You can see it's grown. This is one company that is a leading provider of end wage access in the US. And you can see then within a 2-year period, it's gone from 3 billion to almost $10 billion. And what we're going to see is that this, by my projections, is going to get to about 20 billion in about 3 years' time by the leading provider. And in the OECD countries alone, we have about $1 trillion that is going into wages. So this is something that is happening globally, and we need to find ways to make this work in our local context. I'll leave you with this. Just some data that show you what employees are saying about end wage access globally. These are research projects that have been done. It improves employee, it reduces turnover 20%. People are grateful for it. It impacts their decision to accept a job about 30%. And what we're saying is roughly in terms of ability to attract, retain talent, it's about 93 to 96%. So what we're saying is that the end wage access and financial inclusion for the working poor is something that benefits organizations and benefits also employees. So I hope we've been able to spark some thought. We're gonna have a panel discussion, and we're gonna be able to exchange more ideas about this. Thank you.
Don't go anywhere yet. Please keep the applause coming. Thank you very much. This was Professor Optimising. You have to sit just for, yes, because, let's take the center stage. Thank you. Because while you were speaking, it was reported that petrol prices has gone up to 610 naira per liter. So, what we're going to do is close the door and ensure nobody lays here to go and queue for petrol for panic buying. But it's now 610, by the way. Of course, it was announced overnight that at least about 7 or some of the newly licensed importers have started bringing petrol into the country. So I guess they're bringing in with the new $80 per barrel exchange rate, whatever. But it's now 610 naira per liter. And that tells you how tough things will be for folks at the bottom of the pyramid. So I don't want to be the one breaking the news. But my job is news, by the way. So while all of you were listening attentively to the 50 million story that that was giving us, I was busy checking what's the price of petrol. Anyway, anyone has questions for Professor Adile? Okay, here we go. Recognize the lady and the yes, madam, you have a microphone. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Hello. Morning, everyone. Morning, everyone. So if that push for higher compensation goes through, then for a lot of companies, it means they will need to hire fewer people. And for a lot of those people, they would rather have a job, even if the pay isn't what they want, versus not being in employment at all. So what's your advice to organizations to balance that equation?
Okay, I think we want to take this first, because we have just about 5 minutes for a few questions. Then we'll move on because we have a bigger session for Q&A a little bit later. So, would you like to take that first, Prof?
Thank you. Thanks. That's a really big problem for many organizations, sort of trading it. And it's even worse because with AI, we're not even talking of AI and technology and automation yet. Many companies are saying, do you know what? We can automate away 30% of our workforce and get significant financial gain from it, but do we want to do it? So I think one of the big things about this, it comes back to the values of the company and what the company believes in. And of course, these are tough decisions to make in terms of increasing the wages, and I absolutely agree with you. This was one of the biggest questions I was getting as a consultant during COVID, when people had to face decisions of, okay, we have to fire. Should we fire people, or should we keep them and tell them to take a 20% pay cut? And the same sort of response I gave was, what do you think will be more important given the composition of your workforce? Because for a Guinness-type company, one of the big challenges that you find is that there are not many employers of your type, the kind of quality. There are very few organizations, multinational, big employer with relatively generous benefits compared to the rest of the country. So what you're saying is that sometimes when you're firing that person, or when that person loses their job, they might not get a job forever. There are people that lose their jobs and never get a proper job again. So one of the things, trade-offs we might make is that instead of doing like a significant 20% increase, maybe we'll do a 5% increase because we want to keep the bulk of our workforce. So it's tough decisions, but I think we need to explain it to people. And as you rightly said, there are many people that might be willing to understand that a trade-off needs to be made, that we're not going to go for something high, we're not going to go for something outrageous, but we have to do something. The price increases are so huge that you cannot say you wouldn't increase salaries, because there's got to be pay compression across the workforce. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Professor Adile. I'm sure where we are right now is the fact that we have a very serious environment in our hands, globally speaking. So we want to improve welfare and productivity of our employees, the blue-collar folks at the bottom of the pyramid, when I'm speaking. So how do you think the end wage access thing can work within the Nigerian context for the benefit of my audience, by the way?
Yeah, so the end wage access, so the way I think it will work best is if we partner. So instead of burdening yourself to try to apply it yourself, partner with a technology company and maybe partner with a financial services company. And then what we do is that you can put in place things. You don't want people also to start earning all their pay before the month is over and all that. So you can put guardrails around it. Okay, we will give people up to 50% access to their wage.
My salary is 100,000. You don't want me to take everything out of it?
No. So by the 15th, you can take exactly what you have earned. And so, but for the people that are most vulnerable, we might need to increase the percentage of, we might need to increase the percentage of that. But the whole idea is that if the technology is so easy these days, and we have all these wonderful tech companies that are doing wonders, that it will no longer be a burden to you. They have the information. They know how much you've been paying people. They can match that person with financial services. So we need to be thinking of ourselves, instead of just directing people to all the loan sharks or directing them to financial services, we need to get more directly involved in orchestrating the partnerships.
Yeah, but the employee will have to provide the funds. So how does it benefit the employee?
Yes, so it's their money, but the issue is that they're getting access to it earlier on. So for many people, the problem is, yes, they need more.
Pardon, may I correct myself? For the employer, and she's one of them, the employer, this time around.
Okay, so for the employer, the cost is this. The CFOs, of course, the finance people, it's easier and better for them to pay people once a month. They can keep the money, look for the money, pay one time a month, 30th or 31st day of the month. But I think that's a price we can pay. That if you're going to say, instead of paying 30 million at the end of the month, maybe we will pay 10 million before the end of the month, to any wage access, and pay the balance of 20 million at the end of the month. So it's going to come at a cost, But that's one of the sacrifices. And back to the question that the HR director of Guinness asked, those are some of the things you can do as a cost to say, do you know what, we're only giving you a 10% salary increase, we are not doing dramatic increase, but you know what, we'll let you get access to the money faster so that, you don't have a situation where people are desperate, and sometimes people tell you, they don't have money to come to work the next day.
Professor Adelaide, actually that's where we are right there as I'm sitting here.
Yeah.
Because petrol prices going to 612 naira per liter. I need that money now. Anybody in the HR who's ready to pay me some advance now? Because I need to go home tonight from this venue. Because petrol prices gone up, I need to fill up. The last I bought was 450. It's now 612, so I need additional 200 naira to balance of my carpet. Thank you so much. It's nice having you. Let's move on to our first answer. Thank you so much. There are more questions for you. Please let me walk you up the stage. Thank you so much. Your round of applause, please, for Professor Adelaide of Georgetown University. Now, let me just bring on very quickly and keep the momentum with my fireside chat. Please put your hands together for Lynn Esselhurt. Please, keep it coming for her. Deputy Director at Bill and Melinda Gates. Lynn, this way, please. Thank you. Lovely to sit right under your picture. Please come this way. This way, please. All right, here we go. And that's my picture over there, but I'm going to change position. Please, where's Emmanuel? Emmanuel Okelechi, the CEO of SeamlessHR. I think you will have to sit here, and whoever put my picture here will have to pay. Was that smiling in that picture?
Yes.
I was smiling. I'm not too good at smiling, except when I'm... Thank you very much. Let me try and get... okay, thank you, Lynn. Good to have you here. And Emmanuel, it's good to have both of you for this conversation. Will Lynn be using the other microphone? Thank you. I just want to be sure that we're...
Test.
You can give me okay, it works, yeah, great. Thank you.
Yeah, we're good to go. Let me start with you, Aline, in terms of the bills and the Melinda Gates. You did talk about, and Abby spoke earlier about your interventions across the world in Africa, sanitation, hygiene, education, and all of that. How does this project fit into everything else in the portfolio that Bill and Melinda Gates have been doing for many years?
Sure. First of all, thank you, Bosun. Thank you, Dapo. Thank you, Seamless, Emmanuel, and the team that put together this event. And most importantly, thank you to all of the guests in attendance today. I know that you have a lot to do. You have very busy jobs. And I just want to express my gratitude on behalf of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for you making it all the way here today. So thank you very much. So, Bosun, to answer your question, yes, so we do a lot of different things at the Gates Foundation, and one of our teams, and Abby is part of that team, focuses on financial inclusion, and this has been a long-standing pillar at the Gates Foundation because most of the world's lowest income people lack access to affordable financial services. And, I don't know about the people in this room, but I mean, certainly when I speak for myself, the reason why I'm able to take care of my family's needs, the ability that I had to pay for my education, to pay for a home, to pay for a vehicle, all of these things were accessible to me because I had access to financial services that made these these things that are critical in life affordable. And when you think about bottom of pyramid, hard-working people, whether that's in the U.S. or in Nigeria, most of them not only don't have access to affordable financial services, they just lack access altogether. And when we think about Nigeria, over half of the population does not have a formal financial account. They're living in cash. And so when you're living in cash, they are essentially invisible to the financial service providers that are out there. And so what we're trying to do at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is partner with organizations where we can provide visibility into the lives of hardworking Nigerians so that they can have access to formal financial services in a way, as Dapo was referring to, that is not a loan shark that puts them into a further cycle of poverty. So we are partnering with Seamless to take a big bet and see if we can look at the working population, provide them initially products similar to EWA, like Dapo was describing, but so much more than that. I mean, this is just the beginning. And so we have a lot of work to do, and we're excited to be partnering together.
Interesting. Lynn, you get a round of applause from the audience. Putting that to the portfolio, but again, you're working with SeamlessHR, and Amanda is here to tell me how does this embedded finance fit into your portfolio of payroll operations, helping companies around Africa and around the world to get better operations using technology. I want you to situate this embedded finance for folks at the bottom of the pyramid, welfare, productivity for blue-collar employee within what you do, and the partnership with BMGF.
Thank you, and thanks everyone again for making it out in the middle of the week, in the morning like this. We really do appreciate that you're able to make that time from your obviously very, very busy schedules. To the question that Wilson asked, so what SeamlessHR does, like the people in the room would know, is we build technology that manages the process of human resource management from hire to retire. And there's a big payroll part of that work, helping to manage payroll for medium to large enterprises across Africa. We now have activity in East Africa. We have an office in Nairobi that covers Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania, and Kenya. We also have some activity now in Southern Africa with a good number of customers in Botswana and also doing work there. But of course, Nigeria, an office in Ghana as well. So we're ambitious about what we're trying to build on the continent. And what we find is that there is a lot of payroll passing through our pipe as a result of the software that we've built. Indeed, our ambition is to have 20 million salaries through that pipe in the next 5 years, and we're well on our way in that direction. Now, the question we'd ask ourselves is that if you're sitting on 20 million salaries, what are you going to do with that in 2023? If this was 2000, when there was no APIs or open banking and there were no mobile apps, technology wasn't this pervasive in financial services, maybe it's just 20 million salaries. But in 2023, when there is a lot of innovation and the ability for us to layer technology on payroll, we feel it's almost a responsibility that we owe to the 20 million salaries that we project that we can be accountable for in the next few years, to bring in financial innovation that sits on that salary. How can we help people do more with their salaries? How can we help people enjoy a better life? And to the point that Lynn was making, even for white-collar, top-of-the-pyramid employers, give an example that people in the room might be conversant with. If you wanted to buy a Range Rover autobiography, it's like $250,000 to buy that. I'm not sure that there are many executives in Nigeria that can buy a brand new Range Rover. This is not even blue collar. That's, I don't know what that's like 200 million naira. No matter what you earn, you will think twice before you put 200 million naira out for a car on day one. But people earning the exact same amount of money in the US will buy that car because they can pay over 6 years. So you'll find two people who earn the exact same amount of money. One has access to financial services, the other doesn't. One drives a different car, very much from the one that does. Now you can scale that back to the base of the pyramid to see how sensible financial services can almost look magical to the lives of working people. In the US, there's $3 trillion of cash in circulation, but there's $50 trillion of credit in consumer credit in circulation in America. That means that economy is almost 20 times more power to the people than the cash they have with the credit they've created. And the African, unfortunately, has to pay everything up front because there's no financial services that helps us to be able to access the kind of things that Lynn was talking about just now. Or the Range Rover, for who wants to buy the Range Rover. There are no financial services that allows us to invest that way. And so Africans have to pay the rent 2 years ahead in some parts of Lagos, or at least a year ahead. Whereas you're not living 2 years today. Why can't I pay rent on a monthly basis? And that reduces the pressure on me. And that increases the quality that I can access. So there's a lot of things that we can do. Can people send their children to better schools if there are financial services that helps them to do those kind of things? Can they live a higher quality of life? Can we create more value? And this is what is sort of inspiring us to say, if you're going to sit on all this payroll, what are you going to do about that? And if you don't do it, who's going to do it? Will the banks do it? We don't think so, because the banks have not done it. Will government do it? Very unlikely. So it falls to technology companies like ourselves to take on that responsibility. And I think that the exciting thing for me personally is that this is an African technology company. And for the first time in probably history, Africans can now build their own technology. Because, I mean, without pointing fingers, but I'm not sure that SAP will take on this task. I'm not sure that Oracle will take on this task. So we see it almost as a mission, as our life's mission to be doing this kind of work and taking that payroll ambition to do more with it for the people, for the most hardworking Africans.
Very interesting. Thank you very much for enlightening us about what is coming. But for Lynn, what's the motivation here for the foundation? It's been a charitable organization that boots on the ground, many countries around the world, putting time and resources to work, but then this is embedded finance. It goes into people's welfare and productivity. What is the motivation for the BMGF?
Sure. So, yes, we have a lot of people that are doing work throughout the organization located here in Nigeria as well as in Seattle. The motivation is simple, and I think, first of all, I want to acknowledge that this is a room filled with a lot of HR chiefs. And when I think about the role that you have within your organizations, I mean, perhaps next to the CEO, there is no more important role than the HR chief. I mean, the employees that you have are your most valuable asset. And what you do for workers today will determine the success or the failure of your organizations tomorrow. And I can speak from my own personal experience, and I am not a minimum wage worker in Nigeria. I very much understand that, but my employment at the Gates Foundation has been over 12 years, and I think it's easy to say that I like to work for the Gates Foundation. I enjoy the job that I have. It has great brand recognition. I mean, that's why people come to work at an organization like yours or like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. But the reason why they stay is how they're treated at their organizations and how those organizations empower them to take care of their personal needs and their families and what they want to achieve in life. And I can say from personal experience, that is the reason why I have stayed at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for as long as I have. I have never worked anywhere for this long, and it is because of the way that the employees are cared for, the benefits that we receive that extend into our ability to take care of our personal needs and our family. And so, to answer your question, Bosun, I mean, I think, the people that are hardworking people in Africa who lack access to formal financial services deserve to have that technology and digital footprint, empowered by their HR teams and empowered by the organizations that help them become more productive at work and at home. And so when we think about financial inclusion and those who lack access, it's almost as if the working population is the lowest hanging fruit. If you are someone who is consistently showing up to your job every day and you are on time and you are doing your job well, shouldn't you have access to affordable financial services so that you can take better care of your family and your personal needs? And so that is why this work is so important to us.
Thank you so much, Lee. So let's get our audience to begin to have a feel of what we're unveiling. So Emmanuel, and back to you. How many phases will this project involve? What will be involved in the first phase of a Euro-technical partner with the BMGF in this? Unveil that. Let's start beginning to show.
Yeah, thank you. So this is a long-term journey, and one of the things that we're excited about working with the foundation is that this is a foundation that is here to stay, and Gates Foundation is the biggest private charity organization in the world, so for us, it's long. First of all, it's a long haul. We're here for a long haul. I personally feel that this is one of the reasons why I was put in this world. Frankly, to make impact for the most hardworking Africans. But we're starting somewhere, and the first phase is we're first partnering with the foundation and with the people in the room to deploy what I'll call the iPhone 1 version of our embedded finance solution. So we built solutions that we will demo some of that to you today very briefly, and we hope to have the opportunity to then work with you outside of this meeting to show you more of what we've built. But it's the partnership phase. We have ambitions to get this iPhone to 14 or to 30. But the first version is not bad. And we think that the first version can begin to make impact for our organizations. But we cannot get to the next version without your feedback, without the partnerships that we're able to get in this first year. So indeed, the foundation is engaging us for the first phase, which is year one, to partner with organizations and to deploy the solutions that were built, to get feedback, to customize. So normally we can't customize at scale. Like we have close to 1,000 businesses that use Seamless at this point, and it's hard for us to be customizing for everybody. But for this particular solution, we are happy to customize, to sit down with the employers in the room, and to keep tweaking the first iteration of the solutions that were built to improve the service. But again, to put that together, what I'm saying is that this is, I don't know how many phases it's going to be in, but I know that there's phase one, and I know that for decades to come, we'll keep doing this kind of work.
Interesting. Let's put your hands up together for Emmanuel for raising the curtain as it were. And I'm sure the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation want to go the whole journey with Emmanuel, with SeamlessHR. So, Lynn, how far do you want to go with this journey? Does it all end with the research, validation, what are you bringing to the table?
Yeah, I mean, we're not just here to hold a nice breakfast, and I do hope that breakfast is included. I think we're making you wait, work for it, but that's not our objective. Ultimately, it is definitely the Gates Foundation takes big bets, and we make very long-term partnerships, and so I personally look forward to working together with my colleague Abby and with the SeamlessHR team and many of you in the room, and we really want to work with some of the biggest and most recognized employers in Nigeria to have long-term impact. And so this is not simply a short-term project. What we're starting off with is essentially a proof of concept. We want to understand if we partner with employers who are able to look at their employee behavior, their data, and actually leverage that data to provide financial services for hard-working people who are productive workers. Can this be sustainable? Is there a sustainable business model for both the employers and the partner that works with those employers being Seamless. If we can identify a sustainable business model that actually proves that low-income workers have better access to formal financial services through this type of project, then we will continue on and we will do more. So we are here for a long-term relationship. We want to conduct initial research, which is why I believe many of you have or will be completing, hopefully, just some basic background information about your organization so that we can understand these organizations better and partner over a longer period of time to measure that impact and understand, what have the people in this room, how have they come together and partnered and contributed to the improved welfare and economic mobility of the working people within your organizations. And so this will be, an ongoing partnership, I hope. And I hope that the research shows that we're actually creating change. And if not, we'll understand that better through the research and how we can actually make tweaks and changes so that this project is effective.
Interesting. Hold the floor, hold the microphone lead. Again, that's where that questionnaire come into effect. We want you to please scan the QR code, as I said earlier, and fill in the questionnaire so that we can begin to get feedback from those of you in the room. Thank you so much. Aline, this is where experience do come in terms of what the foundation has done in other parts of the world. In Southeast Asia, for example, in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. These are countries with certain nuances that are similar to Africa. So what are the lessons that the foundation have learned from those countries in Southeast Asia that we can onboard here in Nigeria that will help both the foundation and SeamlessHR make this a very huge success as it's planned to do?
Great question. So I've spent a lot of time working in South Asia, in Southeast Asia, and a lot of time working in Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, also trying to enable digital wages, payroll, and additional financial services in many, many years. And so if you think about where your clothes are made, I think a lot of us today may be wearing clothes that have been manufactured in Bangladesh. And what we have done as the Gates Foundation, partnering with local partners in Bangladesh over the past decade, is we've worked with some of the largest clothing manufacturers in Bangladesh, those employers, and we have essentially partnered them with financial service providers and mobile wallets, because mobile wallets are increasingly the accessible financial account for minimum wage workers today, to digitize their payroll and shift wages away from cash onto a digital payroll platform, and then onboard those individuals into formal bank accounts from there, utilizing partnerships with those mobile wallets, and then using that as an on-ramp into formal financial services. And one thing that we've learned, to answer your question, Bosin, is that I'm going to get granular now, so forgive me, but interoperability matters. And so I don't know about most of the people in this room, but I have an option as to where my salary is deposited. And when I change, if one day I leave the Gates Foundation and I go to another employer, I can stay with that same financial institution. And that empowers that financial institution to really see, hey, Lynn has been gainfully employed at these places, and she's paying her bills on time, and she's making a monthly income, a steady salary. I can actually de-risk this individual and offer them an affordable financial service. And much of the work that we started in Bangladesh was initially just with one financial service provider, but what we realized is that when you give workers choice of how they get paid and where they get paid, and then when you get into products like EWA, how frequently they get paid in 1 month, you are giving them additional flexibility and additional optionality to get access to more affordable financial services. And so that is, again, why we are looking at partnering with an organization that can help employers deposit their salary into an account of that worker's choice. And I think that is critical learning from some of the work that we've done in Bangladesh.
Interesting. I will give a round of applause, please. I appreciate that. Bringing a lot of experience to the table. SeamlessHR, Emmanuel, I'm sure, with what you've done across Africa as well, I'm sure you're beginning to think whether this is just a fact for emerging and frontier markets, of Nigeria being the frontier market, as it were, when you talk about end-wage access and embedded finance. What do you have to say?
Yeah, thank you. So what we've built, and we've sort of run a first phase of this before even now.
In terms of validation.
Yes, to validate this. What we've built is, because again, we have the platform that processes payroll, and we build a platform, just think about it like internet banking, but for paying salaries and pensions and statutory payments on the one hand. And then on the other hand, the employee has access to a mobile app or USSD platform, where today is the 18th of the month. I can say if I earn 30,000 naira in a month, that means I earn 18,000 naira already, and I can decide to pay myself the 18,000 naira, or I can take some of the money I've already earned before the end of the month. And we've seen that this works. We're not the first people to build an end-wage access platform in the world. One of the companies that invested in our last round of funding is a company called Gusto in the US. Gusto has something called Gusto Wallet that already has millions of users in the US because they focus on like small businesses in America. I've personally had, and my team has engaged with founders in Pakistan, founders in Philippines, founders in Vietnam, and even in Australia, building similar end-wage access solutions. So it's a global phenomenon. It's here to stay. What we are doing is being able to do the same thing that people are already benefiting from the rest of the world in Africa, and starting first with end-wage access, but even doing more, but building it in a way that it really works for our market, and bringing together the partners that Lynn was talking about. So behind of this is collaboration with banks, with switches. So for instance, we work with a bunch of switches in Nigeria. We're going to have an event like this in Nairobi in 2 weeks, and we're working with the different sort of like the needs of Kenya, with the switch there, and a bunch of banks there as well. So we're bringing all the partners together and delivering a technology to the employers in such a way that you don't have to bother about finding the bank and all of those things. We just give you a seamless technology to actually make these financial services available to your employees.
You think this will improve productivity?
Oh, absolutely. The point you were making, for instance, about fuel prices, just people being able to get themselves to work, that has become more of a task now than it was. Many people are saying we should come to work 3 days a week. Some governments are saying that. Governments can afford to do that. I'm not sure how busy they are, but I'm very sure that Guinness can't tell people to come to work 3 days a week. So, first of all, even just something as simple as making sure people can get to work, having access to money to do that without having to wait till the end of the month is very meaningful. But also to be able to, so my background is in medicine, and I did work as a doctor for some time, and I've had patients literally, and sorry to put this on everyone, but I've had a mother watch their baby die because they couldn't afford 200 naira to buy drugs. It's not like they didn't have 200 naira, but they have to wait till the end of the month to get the 200 naira to save the life of their child. So when I was working as a doctor, we would always be donating money to patients, indigent patients, every day, just trying to help them because there's no health insurance, there are no structures, so people need to protect themselves. And the least you can say is if you have earned the money, at least let them have access to it so that they can defend themselves, even if they're not going to earn a lot more. So we think that this is significantly impactful, and that if they can treat that child, then they can be more productive at work. If they can get themselves to work, they can be more productive. If they can feed themselves today and not wait till the end of the month, they can be more productive. They don't have to pay loan sharks 60% interest rates on the money they've already earned. They can improve the quality of their lives, and we can make both the social impact and actually real productivity for employers. But besides that, there are other things that we have, which I hope that we'll also be able to talk about to specifically improve productivity.
Yeah, I would want you to talk about that because my next question to Lynn was to ask why partnering with SeamlessHR, but with your background as a medical doctor, I'm going to waive that question because it's obvious that you understand sanitation, healthcare, and everything else in the box. So thank you very much. So, but again, let me put that to Lynn. Why an African partner for this particular project that's just being onboarded in Nigeria?
This is the only way we would consider it. An African company for Africa is how the Gates Foundation operates. And so when we invest in or fund partners, we are looking for partners who are on the ground because they understand the day-to-day life of what's happening on the ground of their partners, and you can't expect someone who doesn't have a presence on the continent or in the country to come in and be able to provide these services effectively. And so it's a very simple answer, and there's no other way that we would explore this opportunity without a local partner on the ground who understands the pain points of organizations like yours, the pain points of workers who are trying to make ends meet and pay for medical bills, and who should have access to their wages if they've already worked those days.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Lynn. And well, let's begin to summarize, Dr. Emmanuel, as far as what else you have in your portfolio you're bringing to the table for this particular project. We're moving on to unveiling in the manner of speaking.
Thank you. So like I mentioned, we're end-to-end HR payroll. The work we're doing in the foundation is focused on the embedded finance piece of it. But what gets to payroll is how do you calculate the payroll? And for blue-collar workers, what we found is that the equivalent of performance management is time and attendance. Usually it's, do they show up to work? Do they come to time? Do they work overtime? How do you track all of that? So we do have a robust time and attendance management system that allows us to even do things like eliminating ghost workers. So there are hard wage integrations that allows you to make sure, because if you have 3,000 blue-collar workers, there's a farm in Congo that we're doing some work with. It's a palm plantation, and they're sitting on 105,000 hectares of land, so it's huge, and there are like so many villages that within, that's a lot of land. That's like a third of Lagos State. And so there are many villages that people are born, they live all their lives on that village and they work for that farm. That's from generation to generation. And they have a problem with identifying who's coming to work and who's not coming to work, right? And this is why they reached out to us, and we're building solutions there to help with identifying those workers, time and attendance, leave management, all that fit into a payroll software that then leads us to the embedded finance solution that we built. But like I said again, to be very clear, the foundation is focused on the embedded finance side, but we're able to backward integrate and help employers to do more things for their people. And we already have close to 1,000 businesses in Africa who now use us, from banks to insurance companies to manufacturing companies, to manage their human resources.
Interesting. Let me allow Lynn to summarize for us and close this chat with the impact measurements. I'm sure about partners like PwC coming into this project. What did they bring into the table?
So the Gates Foundation is a very data and measurements focused organization, and we love to really dig into the actual measurement and analysis from day one to understand, is how we're deploying our dollars actually having impact. And so partners like PwC and others are going to be able to help us understand, again, in partnership with your organizations, because we can't analyze data if we don't have the data. What does the employee composition look like? How many of these employees are paid in cash versus in formal bank accounts? And what has changed over time if you partner with an organization like Seamless and pay these employees interoperably, give them choice? Does that improve their pathway to financial services? Ultimately, from a much higher, less granular level, we want to understand, does that increase their consumption? Does that increase their income over time? Are they able to access, higher earning wages and climb the job ladder. All of these things are important to us, and so we are extremely measurements focused, and so we will be taking the steps to measure properly from day one, and hopefully we can measure the long-lasting impact over time.
Thank you so much. Please a round of applause for me and Dr. Melinda. Thank you very much for being my guest on this fireside. Thank you so much. And now to my audience, it is time to put these words into pictures. Let's watch while I walk off. Thank you very much. Let's give them a round of applause. So let's bring this audio-visual display on for my audience, which is a documentary which shows you the real-life situation of a blue-collar worker and what solutions can be provided for a win-win situation between you HR people and Bosin, who is your employee.
I work as a cashier.
One will ask what the origin of the term blue collar, white collar is. Well, it goes far back in history. The term blue collar was first used in reference to artisan trade jobs in 1924. It first came out in an Iowa newspaper in the United States, and the phrase stems from a certain imagery. That of, on the one side, you have an office or bank worker who is usually in a well-ironed white shirt, and then the manual worker who wears maybe a blue denim or chambray shirt as part of their uniform. We here believe that there's dignity in labor. And we believe that this project heralds the giving of appropriate attention to the carpenter, the plumber, the farmer, construction worker, cleaner, courier biker, and all others in that category who have chosen to work and be paid.
I came to Lagos last year, and I'm a lady, but I moved down to Lagos only me, and I started as house help. From there, gradually, I get someone that connects me to filling station work. From there, I started as an attendant, and up to now, I'm still doing the work, but the salary is very poor.
I've been doing security work for 2 years. And for this security work that I'm doing, I collect monthly salary. They pay me every month 23,000. And when I collect the money, I save 15,000 naira, and I use 15,000 to manage myself. I used to send my mom like 5,000 to 3,000 naira to manage that.
They are paying us 22,000 naira at the end of the month, and I try my possible best to see that I save 10,000 naira every month. Use 12,000 naira for mine to buy food and some things. And the reason why I saved that 10,000 naira, I want to use it to start a business. And after that, I want to further my education. That's my degree program.
Salaried people, and especially the blue-collar workers, traditionally experience spending and transaction density around payday period. There's a lot of spend happening around that period of time. Now, for those without financial discipline, the more a chunk of their pay they can access, the more the whole is at risk. Thinking and spending in weekly chunks sort of narrows the tap through which money flows.
My parents, it's not an easy task. By now, they were thinking I should have my own place or where I will stay, my own apartment. But I don't have the opportunity, I don't have the access. So, I don't know, what will I do?
company. All this toiling and suffering in the city, and I have nothing to show for it. I hold people from going up and down, and they harass me every day. The loan companies will come up with outrageous, interest, which will hinder my salary. Recently, they just sent a message to my wife concerning the same loan that I took from them.
I have different experiences in which I was struggling to pay for my child's school fees at a particular time, and I wanted my salary before the ending of the month. I could actually do anything at that period. It's been so hard. Sometimes I just know my salary in the middle of the month because when my child gets sick, I don't even know what to do. All I need is medications and drugs for him to just get better.
Sometimes I need to borrow money from this different app. When month we end, I will pay back. At times I will borrow like 5,000 naira. After 5,000 naira, the interest will be like 2,000 naira. That then means that the money is my own. It's my own money. I can take like 2,000 naira out of my salary. They are paying the extra 2,000 naira for nothing.
If I can have access to my pay anytime I want, I'll be able to take care of my problems and my bills anytime I want. I'll be able to take care of my child. There won't be any need for me to take a loan or something.
At SeamlessHR, productivity has always been our core, and that is reflected in our mission statement, which is helping businesses be more productive and also optimize their workforce. But the discussion so far has been about the employees themselves. How do we get them more productive? How do we improve their state of financial well-being and see how that impacts on productivity, their happiness, and their drive and motivation to do work? We have thought about a way to actually improve their well-being. One is scalability, because the numbers are there for the low income earner. Whatever the solution is, it has to be scalable. It has to be something that you can use for 1,000 employees, 15,000, 50,000. Secondly, it also has to be accessible, not something they need a drone or M1 chip laptop for. Something they can easily access from wherever they are. Number three is it has to be affordable. It can't be something that they will rather go to their journeyman or bring their father's birth certificate before they can access such financial well-being. Then again, it also has to be secure. Everybody wants to be protected. They don't want a solution that will involve them calling their family, defaming their name, but they still feel protected and they feel secure. Bringing all these factors together, we come up with a solution which we are flagging out today, and also there's a partnership with the Melinda Foundation, which is called Earned Wage Access.
Earned Wage Access creates a financial inclusion opportunity for blue-collar workers who do not have access to financial products. And then there is the advantage of peace of mind, an opportunity to focus on the job. What about the advantages for the employer? First, there is the greater productivity and profitability. You can get the value for what you invest in your staff. Then there is reduced staff turnover. There is reduction in staff pilferage. And then there is also general cost reduction.
The suite of the financial wellness app, which includes the Earned Wage Access and also the short-term loan, is built on a platform or a system that is scalable, built on the latest cloud technology to ensure that the blue-collar workers get instant access to this financial wellness. I can boldly say at least over 100,000 hours has gone into building that app. So with Earned Wage Access, which is a simple financial product which we built into an application, employees of low-income and blue-collar workers will be able to access their income, the income they've worked for. On any day of the month, the system will automatically calculate how long you've worked. So let's say today, which is the 18th of the month, you'll be able to access your salary up to the 18th because we worked for it. So it's not a loan, it's not a credit facility per se, just giving you access to the wages you earn because we work for those days.
In summary, the earned wage access product better manages employee cash flow.
It's good for me to suffer now and enjoy later than to enjoy and suffer later. Like that later I'm living now, I bought it for my church and I bought it at the rate of 50,000 naira. And now, my plan is that if I'm leaving, I will stay with them, I will add the money to my business. And after that business, I want to further my education, that is the degree program. I can be managing my shop, then I will be going to, I'll be attending online lectures for the degree.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for putting that together. As a picture is worth 1,000 words. Now let's allow the Chief Technology Officer at SeamlessHR to demonstrate how to really work in real life. Digi is the man who is unveiling technical for us. Thank you. Give him a round of applause.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, everyone, for making it to this event. And I must say it has been the most attentive audience I've witnessed, at least in a long while. Thank you. So we're getting towards the end and the crux of the matter. So I think Emmanuel has done most of my work by explaining what the product looks like. So I'm here to quickly walk you through and show you what the product, that's the MVP version, what Emmanuel will call iPhone 1, what it looks like. So allow me to just quickly explain what the product, then I'll do a quick live demo. I'll try to be done with everything within 10 minutes. So there is the end range access, which we call Breeze. And the name Breeze, I could spend 2 minutes explaining how the name Breeze comes to be, but the website is Enjoy Breeze. Breeze is free. Breeze is something everybody is accessible, it's secure, it's affordable. It's something, if you remember the factors I mentioned, yeah, you can always liken it to Breeze. And that's why we chose the name Breeze, so which is end range access for the blue collar worker. And also part of the iPhone 1, the MVP version, is also some short-term loan, which as they constantly, sorry about that. So which as they constantly keep accessing their end range, they are also able to access some short-term loans, maybe for 2 months, 3 months, as the case might be. It's been mentioned, it's secure, it's safe, it's scalable, and it's something that is super affordable. And while building the solution, which I'm going to demo, what was formed in our mind is the persona that are going to be using this, which mostly would be people in this room, at least for the MVP version. So it's majorly for blue collar workers. It has to be something they are familiar with, something they are familiar with, and something that is super easy to use. Okay, I think let me just talk through it. So something that is super easy to use, they are familiar with, they can click through it and get access to their end wages within 3-4 steps. And also there's a USSD version also coming out. For those that don't have a mobile app or smartphone, they can use a USSD, and the step is also super easy and won't also cost them a lot. Affordable, commission-based, so it's not interest-based, so they don't have to pay 60%, 80% interest. It's their work for it. Or we just charge some commission, just some service charge, where you are able to do that. And something again is the company itself, that's the organization, can actually support the employees and count it as part of employee benefits to actually cover the commission itself, so that they just access their salary without paying a dime, and the company can add it small amount of money, just almost like transaction fee. Scalable, lightweight, something we're building this to ensure that it's not consuming their data, it's not something they need a big phone or light space to use. Super lightweight. I'll show you a demo of this shortly. But how does this work for the employer? Emmanuel explained this. It's like 3 applications or 3 suites of application. Okay. So it's like 3 suites of application embedded in one. So there's the Breeze Payer, which is the internet banking platform or salary payment platform for employees. So while building this, we were like, I'm sure everyone in this room is excited and want to give their blue-collar workers access to their earned wages. But who will do all the calculation? How will I know when this person resume? How will I do all those things? Do I have to pay every month? All those things might be complicated. So what we did is just pay your salaries through our platform. Almost like the way you send it to your account officers or you log onto your internet banking and upload. Just pay through this salary platform, and it's super easy to use. You can use it can be integrated with ERPs, whichever you're using. You can upload an Excel sheet, almost similar to the way you send instructions to your account officers. Then you can use the SeamlessHR platform also. Once you pay salaries with our tool, we analyze how much you're paying this person. And we know for blue-collar workers, the amounts might not be the same every month based on whether they are running shifts, based on maybe they're calculating it based on the number of output that's a task they actually perform. So we do that, and we're able to give them an estimated salary figure, which they now have access to based on the number of days. And you can also set what percentage you want, maybe 100%, 60%, 80% for different categories of the workers. So what we need actually from you is being able to identify and also being able to collect salary, and that's the end rate in access at the end of the month. Super easy to approve. And apart from that, the platform itself is something we can sell on its own even without the end rate access. Easy approval, like Emmanuel mentioned, we've worked with different financial institution needs and also a lot of fintech organizations to ensure that we have very high transaction success, because that's also super important to employers, especially the blue-collar worker. When I ask, well, I've gotten your salary? Yes, I have. If you have not, what's happening? It starts rioting or start creating some glucose. But if you have a platform that you upload and everybody get paid almost at the same time, all that is sorted out, then you can also track. So in case you have failed transaction, maybe account number is incorrect or a bank is down, you will see the actual reason. You don't need to say, oh, some people have not gotten their salary, you are calling your account officer. You can't even enjoy your holidays or your time to do something else. But with this platform, you can see where the issues are. You can retry if you have to retry. You can edit account numbers and things like that. And it's super secure. I don't need to talk too much about that. Then, how do we track and promote this productivity? I'm sure everyone here, based on the panel discussion, the keynote speaker, and the question and answer asked, would agree with me that end-page access would actually help. But how do we track? How do we ensure that it's actually helping? It speaks to the third solution, which is our time management suite, and also speaks to other things we're building. So we rebuilt our time management suite. Actually, the first version was more for white collars, financial institutions. So we rebuilt it from ground up to cater more for blue-collar workers. What Emmanuel mentioned, I actually personally traveled to DRC several miles, went to that village to actually study how this blue-collar work. There was actually a whole village, like Emmanuel mentioned. Everybody in that village works for one organization. So we need to be able to track, because they will cover for each other. Oh, this person came to work, this person is doing this. You have to be able to track using biometric device. And the system is also built, even if you are in offline location, maybe you have some factory offshore, onshore, and all that. It's able to track that and work seamlessly and still able to aggregate all those payments, eliminate those workers, and you have dashboard and reports to track the presence. I'll talk just quickly about the Breeze Payer, then show you some screenshots, talk about the time management, show you some screenshots, then I'll go straight into the demo. So the Breeze Payer is an integrated internet banking platform, society disbursement. I've mentioned this, high transaction rate. You don't need to, no more paperwork, no more calling your account officer, your bank, multiple payrolls, all that is handled on the system. And the future plan for this is you're also able to make your statutory disbursement, not just salaries. You're able to sort out your taxes, your pension, compliance across multiple countries, Nigeria, Kenya, and also Ghana. Then you are also able to make vendor payments. Also on the employer side, you are able to access things like salary overdraft based on how you pay your salaries. In case there are cash flow issues, you can take salary overdraft, vendors payments, LBO financing, invoice discounting. Like I said, like Emmanuel said, it's the MVP version, but we have big plan also for that platform. So this one looks like the dashboard, beautiful dashboard, clear, easy to use. You can this one you can see how many payments you've made, what's the net salary, what's the statutory salary payments you've made, and like I said, you can upload from SeamlessHR, from an Excel sheet, you can repeat past salary just based on edits, or you can also integrate with ERPs. Approval is super easy. You can set multi-level approvals, MFA, integrate with admin tokens in case you have all that. Then you can also see payments that has been done and history. I'll talk about the time management module, which I've mentioned some things about. It's fit for various work schedules in the industry. Shift work, rotational work in the hospital industry, in plantation. So it does things where we call time tracking, presence tracking. So where you don't actually care when they come to work or when they leave, you actually care about how many plants did you actually weed, or how many plantation or crops are you able to harvest, or how many bottles did you move from location A to location B, and I'm able to pay you by that, by your target. And if you do more than that, I can prorate that amount over time. All that is all built into the new module. It's built to handle offline bad network area, geolocation, geofencing. You have to be within this area, and this also has worked for sales agents who have to go out, and you're still able to say you can sign in within this particular geolocation or geofencing. There are multiple plugin sources, different hardware biometric devices, different mobile phone, web apps, face ID, face recognition, voice recognition, and all that. Then the reporting is actually really robust, really good. And with this, it feeds into payments, it feeds into the disciplinary module, it feeds into so many other things, where all I've mentioned is listed here, feeds into the payroll, feeds into the requisition, disciplinary recruitment, and all other modules. So there are so many other modules that we also have, and if all these are bundled together, you are able to, if all these are bundled together, you are able to track. So for example, maybe a question on some people's mind would be that, how do you actually know how much this person has earned, especially for the case of maybe a shift, what if the person did not come for that shift, and you're just looking at, oh, this is the 18. That's why if you have the full system or the full module, you're able to track to some level of accuracy on how many days this person has worked, how many shifts this person is expected to work, and give more accurate data. I think somebody was looking for before. Yeah, so those are just really short of what the time management module and all that would like. Thank you, everyone. So I'll just quickly show you a demo of the end-page access on my phone. It's a simple app, like you would expect. I'm just going to show you what the mobile app looks like. And yeah, we are going to do some transactions. So I won't take you through. It's super easy to sign up, and once you're on board, or your blue collar workers just need to download it on the mobile app or USSD, but just download it, sign up, you ask for your phone number, and you automatically match this with your employer detail. So this is what it looks like. So for this scenario, yeah, maybe I'm actually a blue collar worker. So this is my salary, like you all can see, it's showing me I've earned 38,000 out of my 70K salary, and I have access to 29,000 based on this. And you can show that I've worked for 17 days, and that's because today is the 18th. Today is not over yet, so it won't count for today until the end of the day. So I can withdraw, I can explore. Like I mentioned, there are still some short-term loan which I'm eligible for. I can apply for based on my rank, how much I've used the app, based on my credit. So I can click on withdraw. Clicking on withdraw shows me a breakdown, just to confirm again, this is where I want to be. It shows me a breakdown of what my estimated monthly salary will be, how much I've collected, how much I'm trying to withdraw, and what my salary will be, how many times have I requested this month. And so that means they can request for it as often as possible. So it's not just a one-time thing. That means some of your blue-collar workers can decide to get paid every week or every month. Every week or every other day, as the case might be, or as at when they actually have the emergency. So clicking on withdraw, easy, shows you the maximum amount. I can do 10,000 naira. And I click on proceed. It shows me the balance, it shows me the service charge based on the configuration of the employer, shows me what account number this is. I'm actually using a mobile wallet because this can feed into their mobile wallet or the bank account they are most comfortable with. And for those that want to use mobile money, integration also can be done so that employees or blue-collar workers that are more conversant with mobile money can also integrate with that. So I click on proceed, and it shows me the salary after withdrawal. It sends me an OTP, which should come in right about now. Yeah, because I'm presenting my do not disturb zone. So where you can see the OTP is in, I click on it, fits in, and wow, I have the money in my bank account. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I can return to the dashboard to see, okay, it's processing. I think in a few minutes it should get it. So I can see my withdrawal history, how many I'm taking, and you can see that the amount I can withdraw is reduced from 29 to 10,000 because I'm taking 10,000 naira out of it. This might look easy to use, and this might look super simple because this might look super simple to use because I am CTO, I'm familiar with technology. So it's okay because I'm familiar with technology, but we've tested this with several blue-collar workers, and it took them an average of 30 seconds to actually use them. Because while building, look at the apps they use, more of apps, banking apps they use, medicine apps they use, and borrowed so many things from me to build. And in 30 seconds, most of them are super excited about it. Thank you very much.
I was in a hurry to get him off the stage because while you are withdrawing money, petrol prices has moved to 640 in Abuja. So speed of execution is important. No, don't read the news until you leave the room. Just focus on what we are doing. But it's 6:40 right now, and it's still moving. And stop market, stop prices. Anyway, so speed of execution is important, and it's important that you get that money as fast as possible. You didn't tell me, Deji, how much you withdrew. Since you withdraw money, you are the one who has money in this room. Please be ready to share money. Because everybody, you'll be at the door after lunch, which will be provided by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. With SeamlessHR, they provided lunch. After that, fuel money will come from Deji, with the CTO or SeamlessHR. So it's for welfare, isn't it? Welfare and productivity. Thank you very much for what you withdraw from there. There's the QR code, don't forget. Now let me bring my panel to sum it up for us to do a small Q&A. They will have a bit of time from Shai, who's been very kind, working this together behind the scenes. Emmanuel Okileji, the CEO, SeamlessHR. Emmanuel, Dr. Emmanuel, are you here? Yeah, please come forward. Please join us on the podium in the hall, as well as Professor Dabo Adele, keynote speaker. Okay, those are my three panelists that will just have about 10 minutes Q&A, and then we'll be done for the day. Thank you. So we'll have to have polling tools from those of you who are with us. But again, let's start with those who are in attendance. Okay, then you want to check that it's functional?
Test.
Thank you.
Thank you.
questions on, voila, someone has a floor. The gentleman sitting close to the far right, please. Thank you. Kindly identify yourself, please.
Yeah, hi, my name is Rotimi Thomas. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Sunfire, and we help blue-collar workers in the solar industry serve more consumers by embedding financing in their very small operations, and also helping them increase their margins between suppliers and their end customers. These people are gig workers for us. So, for example, for Dr. Dapo, thinking about the fiasco that Uber and all these guys have gone through globally, given that they are agents for Sunfire, what kind of responsibility should we have to them to make sure that they're taken care of? We're not paying them pensions, but what kind of things, and also thinking about this product that Emmanuel and team are bringing to light, what kind of things should we be thinking about making sure they have access to, even though we may not have an obligation to support those things?
All right, thank you very much. Let me, Professor, would you like to take that before Dr. Mala?
Yeah, thanks. That's a wonderful question, because we begin to redefine who is an employer and who is an employee. And this is something governments all over the world are fighting with. You go to California, it's saying Uber drivers. Some people are driving 7 days a week, 365 days a year. They're working for Uber. Uber is making a lot of money off them. But Uber is saying they're independent contractors. They're not our employees. And we have many people that, you can even go to a financial institution in Nigeria. They're employing people. Many of the people that are serving you, customer service officers, they're not employees. They belong to an outsourced agency. So the way they look at them is that we don't have an obligation to them per se, because they're not our employees. We outsource them, we get them from somewhere. But for me, I don't think that's the legal distinction doesn't matter. And what we're finding in many jurisdictions is that if it tastes like an employee, if it smells like an employee, it doesn't matter what you call them, they are your employees. So that's the way to look at it, to say, yes, we know that these people are independent agents, they work within our network. We might not provide them a salary, we might not be able to afford a salary to pay them a pension or something, but we need to look at it that if people are getting a substantial portion of their living from doing work with us, then technically it doesn't matter if we are the legal employer of record. So that's the way I would look at it.
All right, thank you so much. Any other question from the room? A round of applause for him, please. Okay, I got a gentleman up front here. He's an HR executive. Please let him have the microphone, please.
Good afternoon, Vasco from Savannah. So, for Dr. Emmanuel, there was something Professor Dapo touched earlier, which is the percentage of money that you allow people to withdraw in advance. I love the idea of EWA, right? It's your money, you earned it, and I need it, so all in. But how do we ensure that we bring financial education to this, so that you're not digging your own grave by redeeming too much money that we all know you're going to need later on? And if I do a comparison with my home country, where we pay rent on a monthly fee, and knowing the Nigerian current status, you need to pay for a year or 2 years of rent, so you need a lot of financial planning to be able to shift from hand to mouse to stable, planned financial status. So how do you help in this?
Thank you so much, Vasco, and thanks for making time to come. Vasco is from 7up. So a number of angles to what you just explained. First of all is that in the experimentation that we've done, we found that white-collar workers were not as interested in end-wage access as blue-collar workers were. White-collar workers, if I earn #1 million, I have enough to tide me through the month. to the point that I don't really need to be accessing that money before the end of the month. It's okay for me to just get all the money at the end of the month so that I can do meaningful investments with it. But if I earn 25,000 naira per month, the equation is very different for me because I now really need the money when I need it. And I really don't have enough money to pay for credit. I have not had enough money to buy the things that will make my life comfortable. So the only thing I have in this life really is that money that I get, and I really need it quickly. So this is what we found in our research, that there is a lot more value for end-age access for people at the base of the pyramid. But the point you don't also make is, you don't want to encourage bad behavior, so that people are just like spending money on alcohol or stuff that is like, well, there's Guinness in the room.
I was watching you. That's a live wire. Okay.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. So we want to make sure that people are not putting themselves at risk. They're not saving and all of that. A number of ways that we hope to approach that. First is that, like I said, we've spoken and worked with people in other parts of the world who's built this. One of the ideas that we've seen that's done by a company like ourselves in India is that we've used cards to be able to track where people spend the money that they earn. And then they're able to then use that, the data that comes from this person spends his money at this kind of places more often than not. We're able to use that data to price credit for that, because end-age access is the first, but we're also going to do credit, term loans. So you know that your behavior affects the rate that you pay for credit. So we've seen that work in India. Another thing that we want to do is to introduce buy now, pay later solutions, so that you're not getting credit, but you're not getting loans, but you're getting credit to buy, for instance, gadgets, equipment, things. We're getting solutions for school fees for children, solutions for the things that actually matter, and innovating things. But I think overall for me is that the data will tell. The first thing we want to do is to help that local worker have access to his money when he needs it. But the data, what we experience as this starts, will help us calibrate and move around as we continue to innovate. You want to say something? Yes, please.
Why not setting up some simple goals there, like I want to pay for my school fees, which will be due on a certain time, and start accumulating that money, just to show people that you're on track or you're not on track, or you will need more loans in the future.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And reserve that money on the side. We all know it's for legitimate purposes, but start putting it on the side so that you help them plan.
Yes. Very, very, very good idea, Pascal. And you know, like we said, this is a long journey. One of the ideas, which I agree with what you talked about, is we have to introduce savings products, we have to introduce investment products, we have to introduce more banking solutions. The ultimate goal is to be the financial service of choice for the most hardworking Africans. So that journey will take us to different places. And that's why the illustration about iPhone 1 to 14 is coming in, because we're not just building this and moving on. We're going to build a lot of solutions. And I think more importantly is that the feedback from very informed people like yourself is what will lead us on that journey. So we're not coming to say, oh, we've got all these solutions. Vasco, I promise you that we're going to sit with you to talk more about those ideas that you shared, and with everybody in the room to crowdsource the innovation that goes into the versions and versions of things that we're going to build after this. But it's exciting what's possible when you have people like working on a problem.
You know, Dr. Manuel, you just got me thinking, you know, I just had a good story. Some years ago, 10, 20 years ago, went to Mexico, and they had a very beautiful program of giving monthly palliatives to families. And they keep dishing out millions of dollars every month, but doesn't seem to get results. So what was the problem? So every month is per family, just like Nigeria is trying to do, and give to the family. So they say, well, the man is the head of the family, so every month it goes to the government office and collect the stipend in dollars. But they found out that at the end of every month, when the husbands go to the government office and collect those stipends, they end up not coming home until 2-3 days later. Yeah, because as soon as the money gets into his pocket, which is paid in cash, well, they go to the second wife's house, whatever houses, and go drinking and find them in the gutters and what have you. So the government started thinking in Mexico, what's the way to do? They said, okay, fine, let's give it to the wives. And you know, that was the success of that project. So they stopped giving it to the husband to start giving it to the women. Because they found out that when women and wives, housewives get those money, they pay school fees, they pay bills immediately, they hardly go to the drinking joints you talked about. And forgive me, those who are here. But we want Nigerian breweries and Guinness to increase sales as well. So, where they could buy some for the family, but they found out that things are really working. So, as of 2010, 2001, 2002, they were doing close to $100 million in palliatives that were really working and helping average Mexicans get a monthly stipend. So maybe at some point, we can look at whether some of these could be tailored to women and not just to us men, so that you can have some savings. And so even if alcohol will be involved, it will have to be the one for the family, not for boasting alone. Just by the way. Any other question from the floor, please?
Okay.
Sorry. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, please go ahead.
My name is Olori Ademola. I'm the operations manager for UAC Foods. It's a good thing that I'm here today, not in HR, but I resonate clearly with these issues because I lead this group of people, and you get to hear stories on a daily basis about how they make their money before the end of the month. From, I just lost my child, to my wife is in the hospital, to the one issue of the across many industries which I've worked. I've opportunity to work with Nigerian breweries, Nigerian bottling company, and I currently work for USCA, and it's the same story everywhere. My first question would be that most of the organizations which employs this group of people have contracted out the recruitment to an outsource agent, just like Professor Dapper mentioned. They are still our staffs. The majority of the payment procedures and everything is done by these outsource agencies. As much as this is a very good tool, how are you also interfacing with these outsource agencies to onboard them on this kind of platform, which is much more useful to them than most wonderful organizations we have in here today? That's one. Two, I've also seen that the security put in place on the side of the tool is fantastic. You've done a lot of processing building across that. Are you considering the Nigerian factor of our people, in which you can track, trace? There are people in which I have paid with my money, like, okay, don't worry, get this done. When you get your salary, don't forget to come back. And they don't even come back. What's your plan on ensuring that if the majority of my staff, for example, receives that kind of category salary, if they get to earn 40% of whatever they deserve that day, and they can choose to leave and go, what balance are you going to put to all of this to ensure that as much as it's very favorable to the people on the floor, it's also very favorable to the company who is pulling this into their system? Thank you.
Thank you. And if anyone wants to chime in as well. Very, very important questions. Thanks for asking. So the first one about how we ensure, start from your last question. How are we ensuring that we're able to get the repayment for the credit that we give, right? That's one of the reasons why we're starting with end wage access. Because first, the exposure is small. If you take a 1-year loan and you jump out, like they say, the risk is higher. But if a person has collected money for just 12 days of work, 15 days of work, and they don't pay back, that risk is relatively lower than if a year's worth of salary disappears. Because with every credit, you factor some losses to non-performance. So from just a mathematical standpoint, it's cheaper to do end wage access, it's more affordable, and this is why even for the blue-collar workers
using end wage access, we can price it better and more affordably for them. The second thing is why we also built the salary payment platform. Because which DJ was showing, there are two sides to this. For us to be able to do end wage access well, we have to have some level of control on the pipe that the salary is coming through, so that we're automating both ends of the table. So basically what happens is that we're opening a ledger for every employee that says you earn 30,000 a month, every day you earn 1,000, it goes to your balance, right? And then if you deduct from it, we know what 5 times a month, we're balancing your account at the end of the month. And if we are the ones working with needs and working with everybody to arrange the salary payment with your employer doesn't have to pay anything, except they want to, for instance, advance your salaries so that the price of credit goes down for the employees, right? So if the employer is paying salaries here, we automatically deduct from source in such a way that we have the right of first acceptance. The money won't even get to, right? We deducted it before you got the balance at the end of the month. All that we're doing so that we can control the risk that you just talked about. And we will learn. Again, the approach we're taking to this is that let's see what we learn. We're here for the long run. We have partners like Melinda, Gates Foundation working with us. We actually also have ongoing conversations with the IFCs, the Copacos, the CDCs of this world, who have also impact goals like the Bill America Gates Foundation. The other question about outsourcing, that's a real issue that we've also considered. We actually have a few outsourcing companies in the room today, and we're talking to outsourcing companies as well. But the bet we're making is that ultimately, like Prof. Dapo said, ultimately the person paying for the employee in your case, for instance, is UAC. And we're making the bet that UAC will have influence even on the outsourcing companies to say, we want to do this. And that's why the room is filled with the C-suite of HR, who hopefully understand the impact goal that we are trying to make and can influence the outsourcing companies to do whatever needs to be done to get to this end. We feel that it's better to talk to UAC than for your outsourcing company to come to you and say, this is what we want to now do. It's easier to get you to be convinced and then bring in the outsourcing companies who work for you, ultimately, to collaborate with you to achieve that end. And we want to make sure we can do that at almost no cost to you, so that cost is not a reason why you are saying, I don't want to do this. It's like everything is ready, just plug and play.
Very interesting. Thank you so much for taking that. And he deserves a round of applause. Let me allow you to weigh in just very quickly, a minute or two, about those experiences you talked about earlier, doing our first chart, Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, whatever you, and what you think the peculiarities will be for Africa and for us in Nigeria in onboarding this, based on what some of the concerns are from the employer's point of view, in terms of the risks that are involved in advancing this particular solution as an embedded finance.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think this is the reason why we want to start with a product like EWA. The risk is actually very low when you get advancing someone's wages. Ultimately, it's the employer who's the risk sits with the employer. They're the ones who need to pay the salary of that person, right? And so if someone's taking out, several days of salary earlier, the risk is relatively low. That is why the product is a much more affordable product. It's technically not a loan. And so if your only alternative is to go to a very high interest rate loan shark, but you have the option to actually access your wages early, the cost of accessing those wages is extremely low compared to actually taking out a loan. So I want to be very clear, EWA is not a loan. There's financing on the back end that occurs between the financial institution and the employer, and facilitated by a partner potentially like Seamless. But the worker themselves is not taking out a loan. So it is not an interest rate that is accruing every single month, and if they pay it back late, they're going to pay even more. This is just early access to your salary, and then instead of on payday, that money coming into your account, it's already come into your account, and so that money is going to the institution that financed that early access. And if I may, Bosun, I just want to address the points that were made earlier, the anecdotal points about women and the critical role that they play in households and financial welfare. And I think so many of the things that you said about women and the role that they play in households and managing money is probably obvious to all of us in this room. But one of the other reasons why we want to partner with Seamless is because women's financial inclusion is a huge priority for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So as more and more hard-working women are entering Nigeria's workforce, earning wages, and providing for their families, we want to ensure that they are also not excluded from the formal financial ecosystem. That is critical to us, and that is part of what we will be measuring on this journey. And so when we say blue-collar workers, I know that term is often associated typically with this image of a hard-working male worker, but we're referring to women and men, and in fact, women are a huge priority for us.
Thank you so much, Lynn. Please give my panelists a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Give me a round of applause. Thank you very much. That's how much we can take. Thank you so much for your time. Let's give a round of applause now. Let's have let me ask Shayo to please Akinwale to join the quick group photograph. You're going to give the vote of thanks. Please come to the podium. Shayo, I think the CTO should also come to the high table as well. Okay, now you got to come happy. Please join. Please quickly, so that I can just take this group photograph before we give the vote of thanks. Thank you very much. Please, now let's give our hands together for Shayo Akinwale, the head of branding and marketing at SeamlessHR, for the vote of thanks. Shayo, please.
Thank you very much. Can you please put your hands together for yourselves? We've had a very productive morning now into the afternoon. I want to say a very big thank you to each and every one of you for honoring our invitation to take this first step. We're resolved in this mission to catalyze the productivity of African businesses, and we're beginning that journey with this segment of our workforce on the continent and in Nigeria. And today for us is a milestone because we're set to take action that will deliver specific significant results. But it is a journey. We have brought you to the room to initiate the process, to share our thoughts with you, to hear from you as well. And the questionnaire that we put up and we'll be sharing, syndicating to your various contact emails, it's a vital part of our understanding of your specific peculiar circumstance and with regards to this segment of the market. So please, we ask that you please do fill it, because it's going to inform the body of work, how we're framing the next step we want to take, which ultimately will result in our engagement with you on some of these solutions and our ability to monitor and then do the seminal work at the end of a significant period. And that work, we're looking to produce a white paper that will not just be another document, but it will be the playbook for blue-collar workers, quality of life improvement and productivity enhancement for this part of the world. So we are going to do this as partners. We're going to learn from each other We have our specific thoughts around it. We will unlearn some of it. We will learn as well from your individual experiences. And that's what the next phase and dimension of this relationship will be like. Now we're going to be having some more engagements with you, not necessarily in this broad circumstance. It will be one-on-one engagements. We might have engagements at industry levels so that we get to, the meat of providing solutions and rolling out these solutions, end-wage worker access, financial inclusion measures for the segments that we're looking at. So altogether, we say big thank you. We say big thank you to our guest, our keynote speaker, who came all the way from the United States to join us. I want to particularly say a big thank you to our engineering team that have worked. Please put your hands together. More than 10,000 hours, did you say, right? Has been invested, and I'm very much aware, of the detailed work they are putting in to ensure that we have the right. Because you see, in SeamlessHR, we are convinced that through technology, we will quickly and effectively catalyze productivity for businesses in Africa, and that's what we're on. So thank you very much. Lunch is served. Our ushers will guide each table for your early lunch, and we look forward to the conversations we're going to have with you in the room as we do lunch together. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Shaya. The filling station is just in that corner. It's about 640 a liter, so the ushers will direct each table from the front all the way to the back. Unfortunately, I'm seated at the last table at the back, so I'm going to be the last to go to the filling station. But let me say thank you to representatives of Guinness Nigeria, Nigeria Breweries PLC. Give yourself a round of applause to LSDBC, Speaker Insights. We'll have representatives from Halogen. Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate you in the room. We have representatives from Bois Cement, that's Nigeria's second largest cement maker. Thank you for coming. We have representatives from Chelanos PLC, UAC of Nigeria, TGI, Julius Berger, Gokada, Lafarge Africa, which is one of Nigeria's largest cement maker as well. So we have the big boys in the room and big women as well. Then you have from Dufil Primer Foods. Thank you very much everyone for coming for these events from morning to the early afternoon. Thank you so much again to Bill's and Melinda Gates Foundation. Please give our heartfelt gratitude to the rest of the team and for bringing both of you here to be part of this event. Thank you so much, Lee. I look forward to seeing you sometime in the very near future. And to all of you, thank you very much. This event is now formally closed on behalf of SeamlessHR, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Thank you everyone. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you everyone, and I'll see you soon. Please let's have the interactions continue during lunch.